This is Garage Ministries Shop Talk, encouraging you to live a better life. All right, on today's show, we got my buddy Hugo Cantu. I met Hugo through the New Breed group. I guess I actually probably met you at church
Probably, yeah.
during launch
Actually, it's one of
weekend.
the sign-ups for
Yeah,
the evening groups. Yep.
yeah, and we have launch actually this weekend. This Sunday is what's going down.
All right.
So, um, I kind of to me, you almost felt like a little bit of a celebrity when I first met you, just because of, we'll get into that, but because of what you do, it's pretty amazing, I think, and just from getting to know you a little better, I just thought, man, what a great guest. You'd be such a great guest for the show, and I think that you always have such great knowledge to add. So, want to share that with people out there. But I want to get to know you a little bit first. It's something I always talk about with all my guests, and uh, I know that family and God and all that is always important to all of us Christ followers. But what is it that you just love to do? I've had a lot of people on hunting. I'm a car guy. I like to go to the racetrack. But what makes Hugo tick? Like, what's your favorite thing to go do?
I guess my favorite thing is just trying different things. I'll see something. I could probably do that. So I'll give it a shot. I'll do it. I heard, there's a video out there somewhere. The first 80 hours, they come pretty quick. It's a steep learning curve, and it takes much longer. By then, it kind of plateaus out, and takes much longer to get to that 100% skill level. But just doing something, I'll do something. I'll buy, some sewing equipment or something. I'll make a bag and okay, I could do that. So if I ever have to do it again, so now I got a sewing machine just tucked in the garage, or uh, problem with a car or something. I'll just YouTube a video. My vehicles, they're old enough. Somebody's got a video on it, so I'll just YouTube that and work on it myself, save a buck.
Yeah,
But yeah, and then I took up painting. Saw some, like everybody back in the day, saw some Bob Ross photos, paintings. So I could do exactly. He's saying do this. I could do what he says,
yeah,
and it's pretty much yeah. As long as you do what he says, it comes out just like his. And then my first one, we could be self-critical mostly on ourselves, and everybody else. Oh, that's awesome, but my first one, I didn't really like it. I kept it, of course, but my 10th one, it looked like a boss rock painting. I got
yeah,
some. Maybe we can throw some photos or something later on if I dig them up.
yeah.
But that last one I did, I actually did two, and first one was in color. I kind of sketched it out in my mind. I wanted it more depth with because I know a little bit about vision, doing what I do, so I put that knowledge into the painting itself. And then I did another one, a little smaller but black and white. A lot of people think it's the same painting, just in black and white, but this is actually two different photos. But I just did the same scene.
Yeah,
So painting, I haven't done it in a while, but just stuff like that, just trying something new, see
I
if I
didn't
could do it.
expect that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen them. They've been popping up. There's one in Conway. There's some places where you can go and they walk you through. They have a bunch of paintings on the wall, and you pick one, and
Yeah.
then they walk you through how to paint it. So it's like
Okay.
they have it set up like my wife and I did it as a date, right? So there's
Yeah.
like she paints her painting, and I painted my painting, and then they go together at the end,
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Nice.
that's cool. I like that. That's art is something that always fascinates me, But uh, you're not a sports guy or anything
No,
like
I
that.
never really grew up with sports. I grew up with in my younger years. My dad wasn't around; he was in prison. So
Oh, okay.
I I grew up with my mom, my stepdad. They've been together for years, even to now. So I never really got into sports. I mean, I tried some sports here and there in high school. I tried out for a basketball team, didn't make the cut. So okay, that, something else is for me, not that.
Yeah,
But I never really followed sports much at all. Never really got that
yeah,
interest.
yeah. Well, that's cool. If you don't mind me asking, was your stepdad in your life from a really young age, or?
Yeah, pretty young. I guess I was. I don't know, maybe 12, maybe.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I just asked that, you know, with some of the stuff that we deal with in our group,
Yeah.
statistically, a lot of that stems from not having a father in the home.
Hmm.
So, I just was curious about
Yeah,
that.
and with that, I actually out of the military. Well, I'm sorry, out of high school. I kind of hung around that first year. Wanted to join the military. My mom said, "Give it a year, civilian life, try it out. If it don't work out, then yeah, go in the military." So I did that about a year, like almost to the day, like a year's time. Uh, 1 year later, okay, I'm joining the military. I got nothing here. She's okay. So I kind of part of my motivation for that was a solid father figure. So I figure, okay, the Marine Corps would teach me how to be a man.
Yeah.
At least that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, that's my initial going into the military.
So, um, we'll let the secret out for people that don't know. You fly helicopters.
Yeah.
Uh, did you go into the military thinking I'm going to fly helicopters?
Well, no. So I went in the military. I was in the Marine Corps Reserves. I was an electrician, worked on circuit boards, components from aircraft. So I was in aviation. So that part I knew I wanted to do going in. Um, and then I went into the reserves thinking, okay, I'll just go to school, the full time, and reserves part time. First 3 years, I didn't even really. I kind of pursued college, but didn't really, go into it. And then I saw, heard an ad flying helicopters, and just like me, it's like, yeah, I could do that. So I got a loan, young and not really realizing the depth I was getting into, and I signed up for a loan. Went through this school. It took about 2.5 years to go through all the required certifications to get a job flying helicopters. So did all that and
S-
paid out of pocket with a loan.
Was that so? You didn't learn in military?
No,
Okay.
but I did eventually. So
Yeah.
I was going to start working for. By this time, I was nearing my time to get my instructor certificate. That's the typical first job as a civilian in aviation. Anything is being an instructor, typically. So I was going to start working for that company. That was just beyond the horizon. So by this time, I separated from the military, from the Marines, and then a month before my final evaluation to get my certification to be employable, they closed doors. They went bankrupt.
Oh wow.
So at that time, it was a big change for a lot of people. This is a really uh, big national school. So I ended up finishing on my own to another local school, coincidentally with my same instructor, because he got a job there locally as well. So I ended up finishing a few $1,000 just to finish it. So since I was already in that momentum, by that time, about 9 months later, I convinced the wife, "Hey, it's a good idea, join the military, um, to fly." So at this point, I had my military background. I'm already a pilot, an instructor, no experience in that field yet, but I have all the rating certificates. Went to the Army, got picked up for the warrant officer program. So I became a warrant officer to fly full time in the Army at that point. Then I flew for the next 14 years, active duty Army.
Did you fly like in on like what do you call that? Like in any kind of a was that Operation Iraqi Freedom or
Yeah,
anything?
so that Operation Iraqi Freedom was a certain time frame. I ended up getting deployed later on. It was a different operation, Operation New Dawn. By that time, the country was very tamed down, so we were
Mm.
there more as a deterrent and escorting um, convoy routes, that sort of thing, and doing reconnaissance, making sure everybody on the ground was safe. But everything was quiet by then.
So you were in a helicopter that probably carried troops.
No, I was in a OH-58 Delta. That's the military version of what I fly now, the Bell 407.
Okay.
But they retired that aircraft. So since then, the military Army gave me an option. If you stay in, you can fly Apache, or you can get out. So I said, okay. I kind of went back and forth and ended up staying in, fly the Apache for my last few years.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is that an amazing helicopter?
Yeah,
Or?
it's a computer.
Yeah.
So I mean, kind of like Atari. If some of
Yeah.
these guys are old enough to remember Atari, you just line up some lines, press a button, the aircraft does exactly what you tell it to.
Wow. Yeah, I know that the cockpits are single person Like it's not
Yeah,
you're
it's in
not side by
tandem. Yeah,
yeah.
one behind the other.
Yeah, that's a totally different beast there.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, what exactly you got out of the military, and then you just were looking for something to put your experience to, or
Yeah, so toward the last few years, there's a big change, I would say worldwide. So there's some restrictions coming, and I knew I was gonna get additional duty over in Europe. So I knew I was going to Europe. Initially, I was going to go to Syria, so I wasn't sure if it was going to be a combat deployment or just a different type of Europe deployment. So I ended up knowing I was going to be restricted to installation of the type restrictions everyone was going through. I took it upon, oh, this is opportunity. If I'm not going to be leaving the military base, there's more time to study the Word, be in the
yeah,
Word more, and just focusing more on that. But my last few years was very different. And then when I got out, that's when I did some airplane stuff.
yeah. So, and then you now work for what'd you call
Yeah,
it, medivac?
yeah. Right now, I fly a civilian medevac company, so helicopter air ambulance. So we'll fly patients to and from hospitals, or we'll go pick them up from a scene, whether it be a highway or just some open field somewhere. So it's a very rewarding flying people that are in critical need.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty amazing. Uh, until I met you, it was kind of like I didn't know anything about it. So it's kind of just like a mystery. These helicopters flying around picking people up,
Yeah,
So to put a face to that was really cool. So where I usually go is, I ask people, you were talking about being in the Word. So did you have like a burning bush moment with God that He just revealed Himself, or did you grow up in the Word, or
yeah. So I grew up. I grew up in church, because family members take you to church, and then I grew up in the Catholic church. So, and I don't know Spanish, so I'll go to church, and as a kid, I don't know what they're saying. Um, so I'm just there because that's where I'm told to be
yeah,
as a kid. So, and it wasn't until a few years ago I realized in the Catholic church when they're speaking Latin in some ceremonial purposes. I always thought it was Spanish, and then I turned to my wife or whoever, said, "You don't understand them either. They're talking Latin. I thought it was Spanish. No, it's yeah, it's Latin." But there was never for me. There was never a. I don't really have a sudden testimony. Mine was more gradual, um, and there's. I guess there's a lot of people that think there's an always burning bush moment, but not always.
yeah,
Everyone's story's different, and they're all equally rich in depth.
yes, sir.
Um, but for me, the real, I guess, eye-opening moment. I've always had faith. I never tested God to like prove Himself. I never felt the need to go that far. I believe there is for some people, if that's what it takes to reach salvation, absolutely do that. Doubting Thomas had to do that. Jesus came in and, okay, put your hand on my side, put your hand on my nail prints.
Hmm.
Of course, Thomas didn't even have to go that far. He just saw him and believed him, praised him. Jesus accepted worship. But if that's what it takes, then yeah, do that. But for me, being in the company I'm working for now, I'm convinced God prophesied that to me ahead
Mm,
of time.
mm,
So when I was in Europe studying the Bible, that gave me the opportunity to study the Bible more. Being an aviator flying, it's a dangerous thing to fast, especially when you do it with no knowledge behind it.
mm,
So I took that opportunity since I wasn't flying in this position. I could fast. Never fasted before, so I did more than just restricting my diet, but I also restricted what I was consuming digitally, social media. So I did a couple 24-hour fasts, and then I worked up to a 3-day fast, and I wanted to do a 7-day. Um, And the only thing I allowed, I only answered texts and calls from my wife. Other than that, I put it off to the side when I was fasting, and or I'll watch testimonies or something on YouTube or something like that. So I was, I guess, my prayer then that really got solidified that I've been saying for years now is, you know, whatever, Lord, whatever you need, whatever you want from me, I know your plan is a better design than I can design for myself. So I don't want to interfere with your plans for me. So I want to do the responsible thing and think as long as I'm under his word and his authority, keeping his commandments, I know whatever path it is, I'll end up. Romans 8:28, everything is good or bad, it all serves his purpose. Um, so that was my prayer for a long time. And then I continued that. And after getting out of the military, I knew there was going to be a transition time. So I didn't know if I was going to have a job immediately. I didn't plan on it. Of course, I hoped for it, but I knew there was going to be a time I'm going to need to stay afloat during this transition. So this last year, the last year in the military, I started saving and stopped contributing to my retirement accounts. And this was the purpose behind this was from what I learned from the last few chapters of Joseph or in Genesis. I think it's maybe chapter 45 to the end or something like that. Um, he interpreted dreams. So the Pharaoh asked to interpret the dream, and he said, "Well, you're going to have 7 years of famine." And Pharaoh's like, "Well, what do we do if millions of people are going to die?" So, well, before that, you're going to have 7 good years. So just save that to thrive and survive during that hard time. So
Mm-hmm.
I used that as far as my savings, the wife and I, to save up to prepare for that famine after the military. And it took pretty much a whole year before I got a job. So all that kept us afloat. Um, After getting out, I went and got civilian ratings, but it was hard to get a job. And then I ended up applying for a military. I'm sorry, police department. And I got the first time I applied, they said you're short a few hours, and I explained to them I can get those few hours pretty quick if I work with a friend. So if you get those, you're in. But that's our kind of hands are tied. That's the hard minimum. So I ended up getting that. It didn't work out, and then I went and got my civilian airplane ratings and came back, still hunting for a job. And the police department called me back. This was a year later, and he said, "Hey, a position opened up again, and we lowered the minimum specifically with you in mind."
Hmm.
So, oh, okay, I'll apply. And there was a few of us they were looking at, and it was really just me and another guy that they were kind of deciding about. Ended up, long story short, with that, ended up not getting that job. I
Mm.
kind of got hired, but in the hiring process, they changed their mind. They didn't disclose why. Um, so I had to kind of figure out. I hope there's no error, so when I apply somewhere else, that's not going to affect me. Because
Yeah.
if there's an error, I might want to correct that before talking to other folks. I ended up getting hired soon after that at a company training new military pilots how to fly. And so by this whole time looking for a job, I just know I need to set aside, I need to tithe better. It was more periodically. So I ended up opening a new account for this new job to make sure it was all separate so I can properly steward what the Lord gives me, right?
If you don't mind too, as you're talking about this, give us a little bit of detail about your experience with that tithing.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the tithing, I've had a internal conflict in general with tithing. I've seen being in the military, been around a lot of places, a lot of churches. I've seen some spend better than others. I'm just thinking of one particular moment when I was with a particular church, um, and went to an event and had dinner, and they accidentally served a couple. I think it was just one table next to us. No one was sitting there, so that food was just sitting there. So, oh, they just thought there was more people. But at the end of the dinner, they just started throwing all the food away in the trash. And I just thought, I immediately came to when Jesus fed the 5,000, everyone was fed to their full, but they collected the scraps, so none goes to waste. And that just came to my, I was convicted of that. I just felt, oh, this feels like bad spending. So I didn't want to tie that a place like that if it seemed erroneous.
Mm-hmm.
So where I came to terms with that is as long as I give it to God, if I do my due diligence and give it to somebody who I think will spend well for God, then that's one thing. If they end up not spending well in a particular area or something, like say I saw that or whatever, that's not on me because I gave it to God. I didn't give it to
Yes,
that
sir.
church.
Yep. Yep.
And just like in Joseph at the end, his brothers, they sold him. They tried to kill him. He was a slave for years, and then he ended up being second in command by Pharaoh. So Romans 8:28 says even if God uses everything for His purpose, and that includes people's sin. So his brothers try to kill him, but because of it, he doesn't condone their sin. But because they did that, he used that for the purpose of God, and then because of that, he gave Joseph that dream to keep everyone alive, which ended up saving his family out of Israel. They went to Egypt, and of course,
You
Israel's born, and eventually Jesus is born through them.
you made me think, and you've probably heard
Yeah,
me say
go ahead.
this. You've probably heard me say this at Newbreed, but you made me think of the blind man that was born blind, and Jesus
Hmm.
healed him, and then the disciples were like, "Well, why was he born blind? Did his parents sin? Did he sin? Like, what's the deal?" And then Jesus is like, "Well, sometimes bad things have to happen so the glory of God can show through, you know."
Yeah,
And yeah, it sometimes there just isn't like we don't see the answer until it's revealed to us.
yeah. A lot of times people think bad things happen. Okay, I'm being punished, and that's what Job's about. His friends were saying you're being punished, but it didn't make sense because he was upright. He was so righteous. They even prayed and asked for forgiveness for his kids' sins, if that was the case. But there's some case like that blind man. He was born blind in that particular situation to show the glory of God.
Yeah.
So God made him born blind so he could fulfill that miracle. It could be written, and we can take inspiration that to find redemption. And other times you're going through a bad time because God's trying to equip you because one day you may cross paths with someone without your experience and your guidance through that experience. They probably won't make it through that if it weren't for you
Right.
to have experienced that ahead of time. So he's probably equipping you for that particular
Yeah.
situation. Um, but so I was so going back, I was saving money for that famine, and it's kind of a I've always struggled with putting it all together because it's pretty detailed. Um, so I ended up might have to pause here just so I can gather my
No,
thoughts
you're
in the
good.
edit. You know,
No, you're good. You're good.
you'll find that spot when you're
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
through. Uh, Trying to remember where I left off. Okay, so I'll just pick back up. Yeah, so I ended up getting hired for teaching new military pilots
Yeah.
how to fly, and they have to learn everything, including starting. And the particular aircraft I'm flying, they're old aircraft. They're Vietnam era aircraft. And this one, they're older, so you have to manually start it, which could be hazardous if you do it incorrectly. You could basically burn up the engine, and that's maybe $300,000. You basically buying like an engine on a vehicle. You're basically buying a new one. So I'm teaching this student how to start it. The first time it starts, the the indications look weird. I've never seen it before, and I explain it in my I guess my debrief explanations for the mechanic in case they need to go look in further. Um, but this particular aircraft, you can start again after you wait a while, a minute or so. So I started it. I told him, hey, let's start it again. So it started up, and it ended up temperature started to peak. So by the time I closed the throttle to remove fuel, it lit off. So basically indicated a hot start. Um, so I type up the details. they ended up inspecting it. Ultimately, the gauge was reading high because they're so old. It was just higher. It was reading higher than it actually was, so it peaked. And they did a visual inspection. Everything was fine with the aircraft, thankfully. I ended up getting terminated from that job, so I've only had it a few weeks. And another reason, it kind of gave them a reason to do that because they also the next class didn't start, so the school had twice as many instructors as they needed, and they put that in that termination notice as well. And I had no hearty feelings about it.
Yeah.
I just felt bad for them because I put them at risk, and they have a lot of eyes on them because they're instructing new military pilots. So
Right.
they have a lot of eyes on them.
Government.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I didn't blame them. But went home. The wife and I sees the humor in God. Like, here's the old bait and switch. I got you a job. Oh, just kidding. I took it away. So we were never remorse, sad about it, or upset about it. We're just whatever his plan is. It's better than we could think of.
And I think you may have been there a week, last meeting or the meeting before. I was talking about it a little bit too. Is like when I go through things like that. I mean, of course, I'm flesh, so I get upset sometimes, but it's like, what can I learn from this situation?
Yeah,
You know?
you don't want that lesson again. You
Yeah.
want to learn from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Even this year, I've had some tough situations, just, business wise. And, being a new business owner, I'm just still learning. And it's like, man, sometimes you want to give up even, but you're just like, man, I know I can learn from this and do better next time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So I end up leaving there, and then soon later, a buddy calls me up, say, "Hey, how's work going over there?" And he knows the owner of that company. We all, he actually the buddy that called me, I've known him for 20 years. I started flying together at the same school, in that civilian school. Said, well, not good. I actually got fired not too long ago, and just feeling terrible because that's my first job out of the military. First time getting fired from being so long.
yeah.
So he said, well, why don't you come work for us? I said, well, let me explain to you first, just so it's not a surprise. I explained it to him. He said, well, those are older aircraft, and the aircraft we fly, they're more automated, and I knew that. I just didn't want them to be surprised by it, like I'm trying to pull a fast one on them.
Right.
Um, and so I ended up uh, applying, getting hired there. Okay, you'll start next week. I said, great. But I had my appointment for medical. We had it every year, or periodically. Pilots have to get evaluated medically to make sure we're fit to fly and not
Yeah,
going to
totally
pass
makes
out,
yeah, totally
flying.
makes sense.
So in between those jobs, I had an appointment, so I went ahead and kept it. So I got hired. I'm starting a week later. I go to my appointment, and because I just got out of the military, I have a VA disability, small rating, but because I have a disability at all, my medical examiner, the doctor says, "Oh, I have to send this to Oklahoma and basically headquarters for the aviation, and they have to approve it." I said, "Well, how long is that going to take?" He says, "Anywhere between 30 days to 360 days or longer if it's even approved." I'm thinking, I got a job starting next week. You're telling me I can't work? I said, what about my old one? Is my old one still valid for a few months? I said, nope. Once you have this one, this is your new one, and right now it's deferred. You don't have a medical certificate right now. Like, dang, I have to call the company I got hired for, say, hey, can't work yet because I'm waiting on this. And at this time, I'm thinking, okay, maybe God doesn't want me to fly after all.
Right.
I'm open to it. I'm totally cool with it. I don't know what he
Right.
wants me to do. I want to be responsible and do something. I don't know what it is. So I continue the responsible thing with this part as far as the medical certificate, and he'll close that door and funnel me where he needs me because I've asked him, don't let me interfere with your plan. So I'm doing what I think's responsible. Eventually, I end up getting that medical certificate a few weeks. It took a lot of back and forth, um, but I ended up getting it. I ended up going to the training the following month. So here I am on my birthday in October, mid-October, driving to this company that to do training to be hired. So the less educated or the less spiritual would say, "Oh, God just gave me this job on my birthday," right? Um, I probably would have said that had it been a few years prior in that same experience. But I knew it was something more. I ended up going to this job. It was 6 days of training, and then everything in the training is going well. I'm flying great, great communication with everybody. They, integrity is great. They're enjoying me. I'm enjoying them, right? But I don't want to think that, okay, it's in the bag. I got this, because that may not be God's plan. Maybe He wants me to just experience that.
Right.
Um, so my last day of training, October 21st, I say that same prayer. Close doors you don't want me. Funnel me where you need me. Open the doors you need me to be. Don't let me interfere with your plan. If I don't pass this check or I not get hired, I know you got something better for me, whatever that is. I ended up doing and then I close off this prayer the way I've never done it before. I say, hey, you know what? As you would to a friend, hey, show me something cool. Show me something cool today. That's how I tie off that prayer that morning. So I go and do my last day of training. The last check ride evaluation is at night. So I do that night training. I passed, and the instructor says, congratulations, welcome to the company. So I get home, the hotel anyway. By this time it's like 11:30, end of the day. So I'm thinking, okay, I got my job. So I need to figure out this tithing thing, because I still had that separate this whole time. By this time, I knew where I wanted to tithe. And this was a church in New Jersey when I was doing some fixed-wing airplane training. I really liked what they were doing there. So God was clearly present there. So this small portion that I had started, I went ahead and, I figure, okay, 10% would be good. That's the standard that people say.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of wanted to do more throughout that thought process before this day. And then on this day, I was, okay, what is 10%? So I looked at the amount, and it was 10,200 and some change. I said, okay, the change is easy, rounded up $1.
Mm-hmm.
So 10% of that would be 1021, right? $1,000.21.
Right.
So I looked at that and I thought, oh, that's that cool thing I asked for. Because this is the same day that I finished my check ride, October 21st.
Oh, wow.
So He was prophesying, I wanted you to have this job today, and to answer that prayer that morning, He had to start long before to get hired at that first job and only keep it for a certain period of time. And that job even paid me an extra week's pay just because they're letting me go early. So had all that not lined up, it wouldn't, at 10%, God was also telling me 10% is okay.
So let me tell you something that's kind of interesting. Like I said, when I first met you, I was kind of like almost starstruck because of your position, and everything that you just told me. The reason why I'm drawn even closer to you now is because of your faithfulness. You're one of those people I can just. You don't speak much in the meetings and stuff, but when you do, I could tell you're faithful.
Yeah.
I could, like, the word. I know you love God, and I think that's the thing that's really drawn me closer. And that, man, that whole story is giving me chills. Really,
Yeah, and I just balled up in joy,
Yeah,
because he answered that at the very end of the day,
yeah,
right before midnight.
yeah,
And of course, he had to answer that. He answered before I even asked. That's in the word.
yeah.
He answers a prayer before you even know what to ask. He answers it. And it doesn't even end there. So, I share that with the wife, and it takes me a while to collect my thoughts to share that with other people, individually, text or whatever. But a few weeks later, I'm at home because I drive up here. A lot of people, we haven't got to that yet. I don't live here.
Yeah.
My home is 6 hours away.
What did you say, 16?
Six.
Oh,
6 hours. 6 hour drive away.
That's still a ways, but I thought you said 16 for a second. I was like, you're on the other side of the.
There are some guys that travel that far.
Yeah.
Yeah. To this company.
I keep thinking, I'm like, he's probably getting tired of he drove all the way from Texas just for this.
Yeah. I enjoy it. It's pretty funny. So anyway, a few weeks later, I'm at home in our local church, and the pastor's talking about the significance of 40. It signifies testing. So immediately after Jesus got baptized, he went 40 days into the desert, and time of testing, and the flood, 40 days and 40 nights. So when you mentioned testing in 40 days, I kind of thought back, okay, I got hired on October 21st. I wonder what was 40 days prior to that. And for the cherry on top of that experience, exactly 40 days prior was the day my medical got denied and deferred, where I didn't know I was going to be flying. But, I was like, okay, well, if this isn't it, then give me something. He'll give me something.
Man,
And it was just that testing of faithfulness.
that's crazy.
So that was that. I don't have a come to Jesus testimony, but that solidifies the experience. It's all gradual, but that,
I love that story because of how much you had to pay attention to it.
yeah.
It
Because
wasn't.
a new person would just see, oh, I got this job on my birthday.
Yeah.
But if they don't pay attention to the details, I've never heard God's voice, but He definitely speaks to my heart. My wife, however, has heard His voice.
So, I I had one conversation where it was audible in my head,
Yeah.
and it hasn't happened since.
Yeah.
And and I will admit at the time, um, I was like a little more serious about fasting, and I was a little bit more serious about just like, I mean, I read my Bible all the time, but at the time I was like reading it to read the whole thing. Now I'm pulled so many ways. I'm in this Bible study. We're about to start another Bible study, and I'm trying to read through the Old Testament.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't consistently do the same thing every day,
Mm-hmm.
But man, I'm just thinking about, you said, I think that's so great how you were talking about how, you don't have the burning bush moment, or the, come to Jesus moment, whatever you want to call it, but um man, that's just as powerful.
Yeah.
Just all the little pieces.
There's nothing. There's no such thing as coincidence
No.
in this. Under God's authority.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we talk about it in the group all the time. Uh, Especially the gospel. You start reading the gospel, and you apply that to your life. It's the truth.
Yeah.
You can't deny it. Go ahead and try. That's
Yeah.
and same thing that happened to me. People that are new, I just tell them read John, Acts, and Romans. And if that doesn't get you hooked, I don't know what will.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was like life changing. I don't, dude. I never read. I don't know how many books, maybe 2 or 3 books I've completed in my whole life.
Yeah.
And then I started getting into reading the Bible, and I'm gonna admit I haven't read the whole Old Testament. I've probably heard all of it on audiobook, but I'm still working on reading. I've read the whole New Testament, working on the Old Testament, but uh, dude, if I get up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I can't sleep, that's where I head. I
Yep.
enjoy it, and I mean, people that study the Bible know this. You always find something that you didn't see before.
Yeah.
And it's just my relationship with the Lord just grows deeper every time. But,
Yep.
so you turned me on to, what was that guy's name?
Chuck Missler. I always like to really promote him because I don't want to be like, oh, this is. I don't want people to be perceived that it was my idea or I discovered this.
Right.
I want to show people, hey, there's a source that makes it for me really easy to understand, and he's a verse by verse reader. I don't even think he likes to refer himself as a teacher or a preacher, but he just reads verse by verse and he explains it not by his interpretation, but how the word interprets itself. So he'll have multiple verses.
All I really saw him doing was just like, here's the definition for that. That's why this, I mean, it wasn't, yeah, I don't think it was his own opinion about
No,
anything.
yeah.
He's just giving you the facts.
And what's great about him is he'll give when there's different perspectives, he'll give those different perspectives.
Yeah.
And he'll say why he believes one, but he encourages you. Acts 17:11. Do your own research. Don't believe him or any other preacher or anybody. Receive the word with full openness, but do your own research and find the proof in the word itself.
What's that bit of scripture that you talk about when we talk about that? You always refer to a bit of scripture.
That's probably that Acts 17:11.
Yeah,
The book of
okay,
Acts,
yeah.
chapter 17:11. It's basically I think it says be like the Bereans. What they did is they'll listen, but with a critical ear. When they receive what they heard, they go and look for it. Okay, does the word say that?
Yeah.
Am I hearing the truth? And this guy likes to, like most of us, when we hear that, we think the hardest part is picking up the Bible and finding it in there, right? But he emphasizes no, the hardest part is actually the first part, receive the word of full openness. Because if we have our own idea, usually for human and human psychology is basically if you hear something the first time or the thing you hear the most, that seems more true to you.
Yeah.
So the first time or the most often is usually what's hold true to yourself. So when you hear something different than that, it's easy to have a barrier up and ignore it, dismiss it. So that's the hardest part is actually receiving it and then going searching for it in the word.
So whatever it was when we were talking about things that we could talk about, for whatever reason, I was drawn to Ruth. I don't really know that book.
Yeah.
I mean, I've read it. I kind of got the gist of the story, but once for whatever reason, I was drawn to it. And then when we decided that, I was like, hey, Ruth sounds good. We're gonna go with that. So I listened to it a few times. I mean, it's a short book, right? So I
Yeah.
listened to it a few times on audiobook and started reading it a little bit. And then you sent me those study guides. I watched the first one is what I watched.
Yeah.
Watched it this morning, and man, just the thing that stuck with me the most that I think could be applied to any part of the Old Testament. He's like in these Jewish scriptures, if you find something that seems like it's why did they put this there? It's unimportant. Like that's the place you dig.
Oh yeah.
And what was he talking about? Oh, it was the time of the year and the
Oh
festivals.
okay. Yep.
And
The season, the barley season.
yeah, and it was allowing you to know exactly what month it was
Yep.
because of what was going on, and I was like, man, and there was just so many little tidbits. I mean, I'll have to rewatch it to
Yeah.
even
I've
catch.
seen. I've seen the Book of Ruth. I think I saw 3 times, and every time I get like you're reading a book or watching a movie. There's so small details you miss, and then when you pick it up more and more, then after that, I think I did a Bible study with my wife with that. Um, she's convinced that's her favorite book in the entire Bible. It tells a lot, actually. It not only so there's when you're reading the Bible, I like to think about is trying to understand what it's saying, and then beyond that, understand what it means, and then going beyond even further. Okay, what does it mean to me? And then beyond that, how do I apply that to my life to
Yeah,
get the full depth of it? And then with this one, it's an Old Testament story that really happened during the time of Judges. There's no king, time of chaos. They have highs and lows of quality of life.
I thought that was interesting too. There was no king, but the dude's name translates to God is my king. Like her husband that ends
Oh
up
yeah,
passing
yeah,
away or
yep.
whatever. He said his name, and then the other two guys that passed
Their
away,
sons, yep.
yeah, their names were like sickly and
Yeah,
it's crazy.
yep. So yeah, that book tells that story of the past, but it also tells our story today. Because if you look at Naomi being a architect, they'll build a model, a small model to see what the real actual is going to look like. So if you
Mm-hmm.
have a small model, it's like an analogy, I guess, of the real thing. So if you take Naomi and if she's a model of Israel, Ruth is a Gentile. She's a model of us Gentiles,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Future Christians, I
Yeah, and
guess.
then
Yeah.
Boaz, he using that same model, he's a model of Jesus Christ. So if you have that thought when you're reading the story, you could see how it talks about redemption for today, for you and me. And then
Yeah.
not only that, it talks about prophecy. Um, in the book of Revelation, Jesus comes back and he has a seal. He has a seal that's written on the backside, and he'll explain later in one of those videos.
Mm.
Back in Old Testament times, they rolled up their scrolls, and if you had a deed to some land, um, the deed is on the inside, and when they roll it up, and put the wax and seal it, On the back side is written ways to redeem it. So if the original owner wanted to get it ahead of time. Um, so ownership back then was temporary use of that land. So kind of like a lease is
Mm.
how we think of it. The Jubilee year is when it goes back to them. I think he explains that there's no evidence that they really observed it to a degree that it was law. It's in the Torah. It's law. Um, but so in Book of Revelation, he has a seal and it's written on the backside. So it's basically a deed to some land. So when he comes back, so Adam being the first man, Jesus is also referred to as the last Adam. And you can find a lot of similarities in these model types in between those two. So Adam was sinless, um, and his wife Eve ate. And I like to tell people, like, especially Valentine's Day, uh, February 14th. I said, well, you want something cooler than that? 1 Timothy 2:14, even better love story, and it's biblical. So 1 Timothy 2:14 says that it explains that Adam did not sin, because a lot of us think that they both were deceived and tricked into eating the forbidden fruit, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But it was Eve that was deceived,
Mm-hmm.
and Adam.
What'd you say? 1 Timothy 2:14.
1 Timothy 2:14,
Okay.
and it was Adam that deliberately sinned. So this guy Chuck, in a different video, I likes how he tells the story. So he says, imagine this: you're Adam, you're both clothed in light, you're sinless, living the great life. You come home from the garden, and you see Eve has sinned. She's eating the forbidden fruit. So you come in, you see death on her head, because that's the consequence of that one commandment, right? So he says, the way he explains it is like, well, you have really blown it, Eve. I'm going to pray for you. Yeah. So it's like, he doesn't take a step back and say, I'm going to pray for you. He's like, no, I see death upon you. I'm going to live the life that you're destined for. I'm going to give up my eternity, sinless eternity, and eat as well and live the life that's destined for you. I will live that life that you lived and die that life with you.
Mm. I've, so the last 2 weeks I've spent a lot of time in Genesis 1, 2, and 3, and that's like really different from the way that I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. It's very interesting. Because we talked about doing a Bible study that was all focused on marriage
Mm-hmm.
scriptures. Scriptures that were uh, pointing at our roles as married couples and stuff, but we couldn't pull it all together in time for this launch. It's
Yeah.
it's a lot of work to organize it all. But yeah, I'll have to remember that. That's pretty interesting take
Yeah.
on it.
And every time I've come to realize, every time you come to a verse or something and it sounds familiar, it's the Holy Spirit telling you, hey, reference that and see correlate these two. And because, wherever it says it, Jesus is last Adam, it's kind of an invitation to, okay, compare Jesus and Adam. And then it invites you to look at those two stories side by side, which the whole Bible does that continuously. And it's very consistent.
Yeah. There's a guy that I'm hoping to get on the show. His name's Dean Caldwell. Have you heard about Dean
Mm-mm.
Caldwell? He's a Pentecostal evangelist preacher, and he's got the Bible memorized. Like when he says, "Let me look it up," he says, "Let me look it up," and
He just does this.
he looks at the ground. And my wife was like, "What is he doing?" I was like, "He's got it memorized." She's like, "What?" I said, "The Bible," and he will call up scriptures that he didn't give the prompter,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll pop them up after he's already been saying them, and he's like word for word King James memorized. It's crazy. But
Dang.
anyway, he did the first time I seen him preach. He did the Tower of Babel and compared it to the day of Pentecost.
Okay.
Oh man, it was something else.
Dang.
And the thing that was weird, like I felt like I was led by God to that because I'd been studying in Acts whenever, and I found out about that like a week before it happened. And I went down there and I knew everything that he was talking about because I had just read it all, you know.
Okay.
And then I went and seen him the other day, and it was like everything that was on my mind was what he was talking about. It was crazy, you know. I mean, I'm sure you've had experiences like that,
Yeah.
and I go to a couple different churches, a few different churches, and I just like mixing it up, you
Yep.
know. And I've heard the same sermon at two different churches. When I first started following Christ, and he was really working on me, I was like, man, are you guys talking? You know, like what? Like how is this happening, dude? I would go to New Life in the morning and then go to Pleasant Grove Assembly of God. Like I'd go for the early service and then get there for their regular service, and it'd be the same sermon. And I'm like, okay, I get it, man. You know,
Yep.
uh, it's just amazing. Um, so I think like what everything we were just talking about, that just really leans into the importance of studying your Bible and really getting a good grasp of
Yeah.
what it says and the surface. Like so, Ruth, I kind of know the story, but I'm like, I don't really get it. Like, what's this even mean?
Mhm.
Why is this story even here? And then he goes to talking about how some places that aren't even into the Bible love that story, like colleges and stuff, love that
Yeah.
story because of,
The elegance of how it's written.
yeah. And then he's diving into all the meaning, and I'm just, man, it totally blew me away, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess I would felt like maybe a little bit Holy Spirit led to talk about that because it's led me down this road of, you know, understanding that. And as I'm watching this video, I'm like, man, this is why people need to dive in. Not just, I mean, we can all listen to it on the audiobook and we can all surface level skim through it, you know, but to really try to, what does this mean? You know,
Yeah.
or even if you read a chapter or I don't know what it's called, the stories that are in the chapter, you know, chapters usually broke up into two or three stories.
Mhm.
It's like you read one of those stories and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, man, I didn't get that. Let me go back. I got to read that again and like slow down. I'm not a good reader. So slow
Yeah.
down and be like, what is it? What are they talking about here? You know? And then you're going to be doing Bible study fellowship.
Yeah, when I can. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't recall what day they actually start, but I'm only here in town 2 weeks of every month.
Yeah.
So, and then when I'm here, I'm either day shift or night shift.
Yeah.
So,
We're about to start. It's for married couples. I think you probably heard about it. We're going to do it's a Bible study trying to get married couples in the Word together, and we're studying John. So
okay.
yeah, that's going to start here in a couple weeks. I'm pretty excited about that. Matthew and Mark are usually my go-to gospels. So I mean, I've read John, but you know, Matthew and Mark are usually the ones I'm in.
Mhm.
So it'll be good to spend some time in it. And I'll be with Bud Gray, and he's just I don't know. He's pretty close to knowing, having it memorized himself,
Yeah.
you know. And one of the other guys that I'm hoping gets in the group has been a pastor and went through seminary, and you know, I'm the lucky one out of the group for sure, you know. But and the importance of discipleship. And I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know that I fully understand it yet. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, I kind of know what discipleship is. We're sharing the word with other people, but I don't think I've seen the whole picture of that yet.
Yeah.
Like what exactly we're supposed to be doing and what steps we can take to do it. I mean, I'm just trying to be there for the Lord anytime He calls me, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just some of those guys come into the group, or uh, you know, I'm trying to get involved with the Project Hope Recovery Ministry. Um, just being there and letting people know that I love them, you know, and God's put it on my heart to just tell you that I love you,
Yeah.
you know, and it's okay that I say that, you know. Did you come to the men's event the other night?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll
Yeah.
be there Tuesday also.
No,
I'm
no,
working days.
the big one at the church. Did you make it to that one?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
brotherhood.
Yep.
When he was talking about David and chopping off Goliath's head, and if that's not manly, I don't know what is. And then he's talking about his love for Joseph, and uh, there wasn't nothing not manly about those two guys. You know,
Yep.
and man, this whole journey has just changed me. I was telling you earlier before we got on here that I'd met uh, a World War II veteran today, and I don't the respect that I had for him, whatever it was. As soon as they started coming near me, I jumped to my feet, you know, and I had chills. And he wanted to talk to me, and God's just changed me, and I know He can do it for anybody that will let Him.
Yep.
And that's what you said too. God's redemptive plan for all humanity if we choose Him.
Yeah. So, Book of Ruth is only 4 chapters, and in the first chapter, it explains, Naomi, her husband, their kids, the men die, and now we have Naomi, the mother-in-law, who's widowed, and her son's daughters, who are widowers now, and ultimately they were out of their land because it was a famine. So by this time, it's time to go back to the land. Their famine's over. They're going back to the land. And then Naomi, the old woman, tells them, "Hey, your girls are young. Go. You don't have to stay with me. Go live your life. Go back to your home." They were Gentiles. Um, so one of them is eventually convinced. She goes home. And then so Ruth and Naomi start walking. Naomi turns again. "Hey, go home. Go live a life. Because I'm a widow, you're going to be a widow with me, and we're just going to be destitute, poor, beggars, essentially." And she says, "No, your people are my people. Where you go, I go. Where you die, I'll die. Your God is my God." So she didn't know nothing. She just knew it was something, but she just knew she wanted to follow her. And that's kind of where we are when we don't know God, but know there's a God, when we're on our infancy stage of belief, you know?
I guess that right there is discipleship.
Yeah.
She saw it in Naomi
Yeah,
and wanted it
exactly.
for herself.
Yep. And then chapter 2, they're back in their homeland. Well, in Naomi's homeland.
Yeah.
Ruth is a foreigner. Um, so Naomi's too old to go. Their way of feeding the poor back then wasn't donations. It was when the plowers would go through and collect the crop, whatever they missed or whatever fell, that was for the homeless or the orphans or whatever. So that was their welfare program. So Ruth would go out there and collect for herself and Naomi, since she was young and able. So she's plowing, and then the owner of this land, Boaz, asks his unnamed servant, "Hey, who is this? Who is this woman?" So, "Oh, this woman is, the daughter-in-law of Naomi." So, "Oh, well, let her glean here, let her collect here." So he has an eye for her. He loves her, kind of, probably love at first sight, maybe, but he doesn't make a move at all. So he tells her, basically, "Hey, you can come here anytime you want. Matter of fact, I can get some of our workers water. Go drink anytime you want. Just don't go anywhere else. Just come here." So at this time, she's just accepting free gifts. She don't understand where it's coming from. She don't know exactly who Boaz is. We don't know at this stage in our walk. We don't know who Christ is, but we acknowledge we're getting gifts of some kind from somewhere. James 1:17 says, "Anything good is from the Father of light." So God, if you consider anything good, it's from God. A promotion, you wake up in the morning, you have breath in your lungs.
Mm-hmm.
That's something good that came from God. So this chapter 2, she's receiving free gifts from some great leader that everyone respects, from what she can observe. And then chapter 3, well, she comes home to Naomi with a sack full of clothes or food. Naomi sees this. This is not normal. How'd you get all this food? What's going on here? So, I met this guy over there. He said, "I can come anytime I want. His name's Boaz." And then Naomi says, "Boaz? He's in our line. He's in our family. He's the next of kin, so he's eligible. You can marry this guy. You can actually, here's a husband for you." And not only that, he's next of kin. He's a kin, near kin to Naomi, so he could actually has the ability by law in the Torah to redeem her land for her on behalf of her deceased husband. So it's kind of a win-win for them two. So Naomi teaches Ruth, hey, go do this and that. And as an unaware reader, we may get to this verse and it'll seem like a sexual proposal that she's doing.
Lay by his feet.
Yeah, and put his
Yeah,
skirt over your head.
Yeah, I was kind of like, where's this going?
Yeah.
You know.
So exactly, it seems, you know, a sexual encounter or whatever. But when we look at the rest of the Bible, we discover on their hem of their garment is where they wear their authority. And this guy, Chuck Missler, explains that. Like in the military, we wear it on our sleeve or our collar. And that depicts at a sight, quick glance, oh, this person is this status. So when Boaz had his hem, it signifies that he's the leader of these group of people. This is his land, so it shows his authority.
I also felt a little bit like it could be her posture of laying by his feet could have been like a posture of like submission.
Exactly.
Well. Yeah.
Yep. Consistent. The word is.
Yeah.
So, and then I think probably all of them, if not at least two in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, it talks about Jesus traveling to go heal a young girl, or maybe bring her back from the dead.
Yeah.
But he stopped on his journey by a woman who's been sick of some blood illness for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she reaches and she touches the hem of his garment. She doesn't even touch him.
Oh, yeah.
And he realizes that he's been touched. So he turns and she's reaching for his authority and he makes her whole. She was a Gentile. Yeah. Just by reaching for his authority, he made her whole. So by Ruth asking Boaz to put his authority over her, it is that wants to be submitted. She's basically asking him, hey, marry me.
Yeah.
So he says, he agrees. So, okay, I will. Go give this to your mother-in-law. He gives her 6 measures of barley. So go give this to your mother-in-law. She'll know what it is. Ruth didn't know what it was. She's 6 measures. Okay, I'll take it to her. So when Naomi gets it, she says, oh, the 6 measures. What this means is, how long did it take God to create the universe or everything? 6 days.
6 days.
And he rested on the 7th. So that's what Boaz was telling Naomi through Ruth. Hey, bring this to Naomi. She'll know what it means. What he was saying is, I'm going to do what I can legally and correctly, and I won't rest until it's done. Because the problem was there was a kin that was more eligible, that had priority over him.
I got you.
So on the last chapter, you don't even see Ruth anymore until, it talks about her giving birth to her son through Boaz. But so at this point, chapter 4, Ruth is out of the picture, and Boaz is getting all basically the legal counsel of the town, witnesses, hey, you are near kin, you can marry this Gentile Moabitess, which are forbidden in the Jewish culture then, because it goes back to Lot, if you recall that. That's a long story.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just, I'm sitting here and like how you were comparing it earlier to the story of Jesus. I mean, it's like Jesus coming for salvation for the Gentiles.
Exactly. And Boaz is the one doing the work.
Yeah.
Ruth is not involved, because in traditional, in this culture back then, it was the widow's responsibility to go to the next of kin and ask to be given a levirate marriage, is what they call it. And it was both of their choice. He didn't have to do it if he didn't want the responsibility or have to pay the price, and she didn't have to do it if she didn't want to. So it was a choice on both of their parts. And Boaz wanted to, and Ruth wanted to get married, but there was a legal problem. Somebody was priority. So he had to go there and say, hey, you can marry this Gentile, which is forbidden to us. So he sells it like that in hopes that he would deny, give up his claim. So he does give up his claim and gives him his shoe. Back then, they used to walk the perimeter of their property. So if he chose not to do the Levirate marriage and purchase that property on behalf of Naomi and take Ruth as a bride, he'd give up his shoe, saying, "This is your license. This is your shoe. You have next in line if you want." So he does that in front of everybody, witnesses, counsel. He does it the legal way. Jesus did it the legal way,
Mm-hmm.
and he's
Fulfilled
able to take a
fulfilled
bride.
the law.
He's able to take that bride and redeem the land, just as Adam lost the land when he sinned. Since then, Satan is the god of this world.
Mm.
He calls the shots here.
It's interesting. I don't know your thoughts on it, but it's interesting in Genesis 1, the very beginning, right? When the earth is formed and the world is
Void, form without void.
and it has darkness,
Yeah.
and the Spirit of God is hovering above it.
Yep.
It's almost like representative of like good and evil right there, you know. And to me, I do just stuff that I've studied lately. I think that Jesus was created at that same moment, you know. I mean, we don't have enough time for all
Yeah.
that, but and I think, you know, some people may think different than that or whatever, but it's just crazy how, you know, the devil does rule this world.
Yeah.
And if you're not diligent, vigilant, whatever you want to say, I can hear that Van Halen song "Running with the Devil" running in my head right now. I mean, that
Yeah.
was me, you know, and I was happy about it. I didn't, you know, all the you know, it seems like you've lived a pretty straight life, you know, and I think back to all the times that I just got so drunk and high and I was robbed of having any real moments.
Yep.
You
I
know?
think everyone has their dark side in life.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
time,
yeah,
season.
yeah. Uh, and now that I've come to Christ, all these things that I needed, I realized, man, those things robbed me,
Yeah.
robbed me of so much joy. I don't dwell on it because you can't get the past back. You
Mhm.
know, I mean, I use it as a lesson to live better in the future or
Yep.
now, or you know, the big thing is be present,
Yep.
be in the moment, because the future can suck you away too. You
Yep.
get caught up
Exactly.
in it. You know,
Yep.
uh, I don't. Do you have kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. Being present with your kids and your wife. I had a choice at one point. We were on vacation, and I had a choice to. You've probably heard me talk about this, but have a choice to either drink alcohol or stay sober. And I'm so thankful that my wife put it on me. She's like, you know, she didn't say, "Oh, you can't drink." She's like, "You're an adult. You're gonna make your choice." And that's the best thing she could have done for me. I was mad about it for about 20 minutes, and I decided not to have that drink. And I go back to the beach with my kid, and was so thankful that I didn't, because I was in the moment instead of
Yep.
being sucked away into that,
Yep.
you know, whatever you want to call it, you know, the spirits. You know, they call it spirits, right? You're sucked away into this thing that's not even really real. It's not a present moment, you know, and that I look back at the moment, I don't think I realized it, how important that day was, you know, and I look back on it now and like, I mean, that was a day that I broke some chains,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, there was a day at an altar that I broke some chains, you know, that Jesus broke some chains. And then there was this other day that there were still some chains that had me tied to that. And I'm not going to say that I don't have temptation now, you know
Sure.
what I
Yeah.
mean? But dude, a lot of more chains were broke that day too, and it got easier, you know. So, but yeah, the devil is crazy, man. He'll have you thinking you need that stuff,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. You
Yep.
know, everybody struggles with something different, but I think you can't live without it. You know, it's just crazy. Well, was there anything? I got one more question for you, but was there anything that we missed or that we need to go over?
I'll just close up with the yeah. So since Adam sinned there, ever since then, Satan has the title to the earth.
Yeah.
That's why he was able to tempt Jesus with, hey, when he took him to a high mountain, showing him the entire world, he was giving him a shortcut. I can give you all this if you worship me. So it wouldn't have been a temptation if it wasn't true. Meaning, if he didn't actually possess ownership of the earth, he couldn't offer it. So if I say I'll give you $1 million right now if you throw that remote over there, you clearly see I don't have $1 million, so it's not a temptation. If I have $1 million here, then you're throw that remote. That's all I got to do. Now it's a temptation.
Right.
So, but in Revelation, when he comes back with that title deed, he's already fulfilled the cost, which is the death of himself on earth. So he's already has the title deed. So it's written on the outside.
You
And
think that deed is the deed to the planet? You think that
Yeah,
deed is the deed to
because
Earth? Yeah.
we say it in the Lord's Prayer, on earth as it is in heaven. So we're praying for that 1,000-year reign, right? So after the the false peace, 3.5 false peace with the abomination, the desolation, and then and then the last 3.5 years, the great tribulation. Jesus comes back not as a lamb but as a lion to end it all with his saints, and then there's 1,000 years of reign when Satan is in prison for those 1,000 years. So we pray for that to happen, because it's already prophesied. It's gonna happen. We don't know when. It's on
Right.
his plan, his timing.
Every day we're a little closer.
Yep. So yeah, when he comes back, it's kind of explaining the story of Ruth again, because Boaz is claiming the land for Naomi. So Christ is reclaiming the land on behalf of Israel with that title deed.
I've enjoyed this because it's just like it all makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I
It's
see it.
dimensionally rich in its language.
It's crazy. I got to see the. I don't know if you heard about it or not, but there's a traveling temple. I mean,
Oh yeah.
there
No,
was
I
a
haven't
there
heard
was
of
a
it.
traveling temple.
Oh yeah.
But now there's a recreation of it,
Okay.
and I'm not sure where they come. He told me, but I can't remember where they come out of. But they travel all over the country, setting this thing up for a couple weeks at a time at different churches.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually at a seven-day Adventist.
Okay.
I don't really know much about that denomination or anything.
Gotcha.
But it wasn't even. You got to go get tickets, but it doesn't even cost you any money.
Mm-hmm.
And they got the whole courtyard set up. They got the place where they sacrifice the animals. There's ash, like it's something that represents ash on the ground, and then there's like a big bowl of water, I guess,
Okay.
where they would wash themselves or something.
So basically, the tabernacle.
Yeah, the tabernacle. I mean, you go around to the side and you get to see the holy place. There's like almost, I don't know what it is. It almost looks like a menorah kind of in there.
Okay.
And then there was the unleavened bread. They got a
Mm-hmm.
stand with unleavened bread and stuff in there. And then you go around to the backside and they got the wall cut out of it. It's the Holy of Holies. It's got the Ark of the Covenant in there.
Yeah.
And the a couple different things in the Ark, like like the Ten Commandments, and then there's like I'm still new,
Mm-hmm.
so but there's like a branch, I guess, that Aaron said something and it started to sprout. There's anyway, it was the things that would have been in the Ark.
Oh, okay.
And dude, it's an hour long, even though it's not it's not much bigger than this garage,
Oh,
really.
yeah.
The courtyard is fairly big, but the actual temple or tabernacle was not very big, you know. And but they talk about it for like an hour and a half even.
Okay.
And it's pretty cool to see that. It's got the veil in it that
Mm-hmm.
separates the holy from the holiest of holies.
Yep.
And then you hear about like when Jesus dies,
It
the
was
veil
ripped
was
in two.
torn,
Yep.
and I'm like, I could see God's hands coming down, like ripping
No
that.
more divider.
Yeah,
He is your your high priest. You go
man.
straight to him.
This last year's been my mind's just blown over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But, well, Man, I've enjoyed this. I got one last question. Is like, if there's one thing that you could tell the men out there, what would it be?
So being an example, example being following. You don't have to lead from the front. You know, lead from next in line behind Jesus. His example. Um, it's gonna struggle. It's gonna be difficult. It's not easy on this world for anybody. Um, the reason I get in the word is my role as a father. So my boys' names are Elijah and Isaac. Our firstborn is Elijah. Reason I named him Elijah is because in the Bible Elijah never died. Um, my first biological kid was a miscarriage.
Mm.
My wife almost died. So that was kind of a prayer to the Lord, tell him if he blesses me with another kid, I give him back from day one. And in return, I'm asking him, by naming him Elijah, I'm asking him to live. So I have a son.
Mm-hmm.
But being that leader to your family and in your house, to your wife, and if you're not married yet, you don't have a family yet, you're still a leader because you're being molded into your future self. And even if there are people, obviously, I'm not naive to think that there's people that everyone gets married. Yeah, there's certainly single people, but when you put in a relationship with Christ, we're under His authority. Just as my bride is submissive to me, I'm submissive to Christ, and I'm leading in that way by being submissive to the Lord and following His example. The reason I learned the Bible so well, or try to learn the Bible so well, so when my kids grow up, I have a biblical answer for them because social media is going to influence them if I don't. Um, and of course, I want it to be biblical and not, well, this is what I think. Of course, we start out like that, and we could easily evolve into that if we drift away from the Word. But just staying a leader in the Word, understanding as much as you can when you can, even if it's one step today, two steps tomorrow.
I think we talk about this from time to time. You're leading no matter what, right?
Yeah,
Like, like
somebody's always watching.
yeah. Well, and even in your family, whether
Yeah,
you're
yeah, that's your role.
yeah. So
If you're
whether
under
you
Christ's
like it or
authority, that's your role.
yeah. I think you can either like man up and do what you're supposed to do, or you can lead them in the wrong direction. You
Yep.
know, it's usually I don't know. I've just seen it with my own eyes that if you have a husband that's not doing his duty, even myself,
Mhm.
when I wasn't living right, I was leading my wife into a horrible
Yep.
mess. You know what I mean? And then on the other hand, you kind of alluded to that a little bit, is like people that don't have families, you're still, if you are at work and you're like, man, I'm going to give an example. I'm not going to say any names or anything like
Yeah.
that, but I used to work at a place that some of the people used racial slurs. And uh, a good friend of mine is a black dude, and I told him about this just recently.
Mhm.
Uh, Man, I felt bad after I didn't say anything. At first, I didn't say anything. I just kind of was like, whatever, you guys are, I just thought to myself, that's
Yeah.
messed up, dude. And then it got to a point one day I was like, I can't be around that. Like I said that to them, and I walked out. You know, it hurt my feelings because they were talking about a dude that I knew,
Yeah.
and he was my brother. He come in the door. They didn't know I knew. He come in the door one day. I gave him a hug, and I'm like, dude, this dude is like my brother. You know what I mean? And just something like that as a witness. I'm not gonna
Yep.
stand for I'm not gonna stand for that, treating somebody that way. Or I know this is so cheesy, but I say it all the time in group, is like holding the door for somebody at the gas station. I'm not talking about like somebody's right behind you and hold the door. Like, you see an older lady coming across the parking lot, and you stand there and you
Yeah.
wait, like just like it's a greeting at church. I'm gonna take 45 seconds out of my day to stand here and, you know, uh, doing those kind of things. I know that seems small, right? But it's just a witness that, man, I want to make everything better for everybody,
Yeah.
you know.
The
But
the people they feel noticed.
oh yeah, yeah. And like you said, I mean, our families are the most important, and sometimes our families get the worst of us,
Yeah.
you know. And but they deserve the best out of anybody. So, man, I've really enjoyed it. I think that this whole evening's been kind of a divine appointment for me, you
Oh yeah,
know.
absolutely. I said that earlier today. Like I'm supposed to be here, and I'm gonna try to represent the Lord appropriately.
Yeah, I've enjoyed all my podcasts, but I think this is definitely one of my
Yeah.
favorite ones so far. So,
Yeah, I can go on, and my thoughts run faster than how I speak, so I kind of bounce around everywhere.
yeah,
Like anybody who's passionate about something,
yeah,
they go
I
on and
get
on.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Man, it's so cool to be around people that like I said, I'm still new. I've only been like really studying for like I've only really been studying for like probably 2.5 years. Like
Yeah.
and I've only really deeply been studying for like the last 6 months to a year. And so I'm fortunate enough to get around people like yourself that have been doing it for a long time, and then I got some friends that have been pastors and friends that have been studying for years and years, and it's like, yeah, you get to get in a room and do a Bible study and be excited about it, and it's
Yeah.
just such a great thing. So, but all right, well,
Yeah. So I would suggest posting that guy's name, Chuck Missler. He's gone with the Lord now, but
let me.
ChuckMissler. His background, he's been a Christian pretty much his whole life. He's been an engineer working with the government for years, and he has, he doesn't say it in all of his things in his videos, but he's technology background, so he brings a lot of physics into it. And I have a friend that says, "Hey, you either believe in science or you believe in the Bible. You can't do both." I said, "No. The more you understand science, the more you understand the Bible's true, and science is only the study of God's creation. That's all it
Mm-hmm.
is. They're changing their mind all the time because
Yeah,
they can't,
one of the biggest scientists of our day, like the the Japanese dude that does quantum physics. I can't.
Oh yeah, Miyokaku or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I butcher his name every time,
yeah.
so I wasn't even gonna try. He believes in God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think the most in the scientific field, the most believers because of their field are biologists
yeah,
because they realize, we didn't come from, I guess what they say is a rock, one organism, and then mutates to multiple, but everything had to happen at the same time. Like our
yeah.
lungs can't exist without blood and heart because they all work together. So one would be pointless if the other's not there. So why would it develop
Well,
without the other?
I had that kind of argument in myself. Like
Hmm.
when I first come to Christ, I was like, man, because I believe in science, and I love science. It's one of my favorite
You
things.
would. I'll probably start with Genesis. Genesis sounds so futuristic because the first probably 8 hours is all the science behind it, and he breaks it down really easy for anybody to understand and
Yeah,
keep up with.
yeah. Well, dude, there's been times where that dude I was just talking about that does the quantum physics.
Yeah,
I've watched his classes and stuff just because I mean I love that kind of stuff. But um, the oh my what I was gonna say was my therapist when I was telling him I was like, man, I have this struggle inside of me because I believe in science. I think that it's real and dinosaurs and whatever. And he said, well, just think about this, and this changed me. I mean, it was something so simple, but it changed the way I thought about everything. And you know how and I'll get to this in just a second, but you know how everybody talks about the pyramids and how
yeah,
they're like aliens made them or nobody can
yeah,
figure it out. Well, my therapist said to me, he's like, think about this. He said, God didn't create Adam as a baby, right? And I was like, okay, yeah. He's like, yeah, well, he created him as a man, as a grown man. I was like, okay, where are you going with this? And he's like, so he had history built into him.
Yeah.
even as he was created. He's like, why couldn't God build history into the earth? And I was like, God made the pyramids, and that's why they're so perfect.
There's
Like,
a theory I heard is the pyramids are the thing that Joseph built that kept all the food.
oh yeah.
That's I've heard that recently. It's the first time I heard it, but um,
Well, when they talk about those stones, nobody can still figure out how it happened, and they
a lot of
talk.
times I don't even know its use, its purpose, why it was
Yeah,
made.
yeah. Was it a power plant? Was
Yeah,
it? Was it? Uh, I've heard a lot of people talking lately about the old, um, like religious structures in Europe and stuff.
oh yeah.
Cathedrals, the old
Hmm.
cathedrals, supposedly were like healing. The sound that resonated in
Yeah,
them was supposed to heal you or something. Like we don't know.
yeah.
We don't know any of that stuff, but it was like, and it's just my own thought. But when my therapist said that to me, I immediately went to God made the the pyramids, and that's why they're so perfect. Like the ones down in South America or the ones in Egypt or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're like, man, even with all of our computer technology, we couldn't recreate this. I'm like, well, yeah, God made them. It's I don't know. To me, it's
It
like,
and a lot of people think that we're modern. We're here, so people centuries ago were more unintelligent.
yeah,
So we're more intelligent because we've had all this time.
yeah,
But they say that the physicists say the law of thermodynamics, everything deteriorates.
oh, yeah,
So if everything's deteriorating, that means everything was better,
yeah,
including humans.
yeah. Well,
You
we
know,
definitely have more distractions
yeah.
now.
It's like if the whole world was apocalypse today, and just a few people survive, a small percentage, say 5%, those 5% couldn't rebuild the Earth the way it was. So how many of those 5% would know how satellites work or the internet? They won't. That had to start over. So
Yeah,
all the stuff that has happened would just be stories.
right.
Once they start over.
Yeah,
So if there were destructions of Earth and colonies or whatever, it'd just be people starting over again.
yeah.
So there could have been advanced more technologies and
I
just
don't
different
know.
than what we evolved to
We're
today.
we're gonna have to sit around, and we may not care when we get there, but I might try to sit around with Jesus and ask him a couple of things.
Yeah. Think about this. Last thing. I know this is a huge, long conclusion
It's
in your
fine.
video,
It's fine.
but how long did God take to create everything?
Yeah, 6 days.
6 days. And he told his disciples, hey, he's going to go prepare a place for you. So he's been at it for 2,000 years. I can't wait to see how that is
Yeah,
compared to the 6 day universe.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's gonna be. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't even know how to think about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when it comes to that, uh, a lot of people think about that a lot. And I guess just because of what God saved me from here, to me, I'm like, I'm just thankful to be where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was just weird that he had this plan. I mean, I should have been dead 100 times over. I mean, I talked to my pastor up here about it one time about him. I've talked to my therapist about it. It's like I drank myself to death at least 50 times. I mean, like missing 5 hours of a night,
Yeah.
still awake, but being that
Autopilot.
intoxicated. Yeah, that's why I tell people lights are on, but nobody's home. And waking up and not knowing where I was at. Like I hear stories all the time of 21-year-old kids dying from alcohol poisoning, or around here I've heard of kids getting drunk and walking off a bluff. You know, and uh, there's no reason I should have lived through what I lived through,
Mm-hmm.
except for to do what I'm doing right here and what I'm doing with my family and what I'm doing with like New Breed and stuff. This working on cars and stuff. I mean, it's the gift he gave me to be able to facilitate.
Yeah.
that other stuff. But I don't, like I said, I'm new. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that I love the Lord, and I know that I'm going to do whatever I feel called to do to spread it around a little, you know.
Yep.
Man, I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. But
Sounds good.
if anybody's watched it to this point and you like what we're doing here, just please like and subscribe and share and do all the things you do with social media. And like we always say here at Garage Ministries, we're just trying to help you live a little bit better life.